Okay. So I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. You've spoken quite a bit about the local side of things. You were an international company before your recent acquisition. So what was it that was attractive about that acquisition? And what was the thought process behind it, right? Because your business would have been growing at that point, and you thought, I guess, that this acquisition could take it over the top. So what was that process like? How did it actually work out? And where does that put you today?
Yeah, so I mean, we started looking at the inorganic growth opportunities in 2021, right? We worked alongside Mark Gale, and him, myself, and Gino, we prepped basically a deck for our board. Like that was one of the things. Yo, I have to just stop and say that as well. Like if you want to grow your business, like get serious about your board and the accountability structures that causes essentially, right? Like we had always set targets and never met them, like before. And but once we put our board in place and we had to start looking at our numbers every quarter, like it made a world of a difference because you started to realize if you were on track or not. And then if
Yeah.
you aren't on track, then what are you going to do, right? And so you are forced to actually be accountable when you get that board there. And I think putting our board in place, because that's one of the things I think was super important for us as well. Is not waiting till we're about to list to like gather our board,
Yeah, I've
but we
seen
have.
that. I've seen companies do that. Like they start to make these changes preparing to list, and not
Yeah.
necessarily that it's a natural part of what they were doing.
Yeah, and I mean when we approach, we've added one board member, which is Jacqueline Sharp. We added her recently, but the rest of our board has been there since we started having board meetings, which was at least 3 years ago, right? And we started meeting quarterly, reporting quarterly, and that was a big deal. So we were watching our growth. We knew what it was. We were measuring it, and we were setting aggressive targets and going after it every year. And every year we had to end the year with this is what we did, here's what we want to do the next year, how we're going to do it, right? So as we were approaching the end of 2021, we said, guys, this is what we did. And that was good. We knew it was going to close good, right? And we said, this is what we did this year. Here's our target for next year. How are we going to do it, right? And what we came up with is let's explore the inorganic ways. And we went down a path and explored multiple inorganic opportunities. And we decided to pursue the acquisition of an agency, right? Because we could have gone in other business lines as well, like as a tech and marketing agency, like we could have also looked on, SaaS, for example. But we wanted, it's like I had an aha moment. And for everybody who build websites and apps, like your dream is to run a software product, right? Because it's like the top of the world for people who build software, right? Is to just have a software product. Everything would be easy, right? Except when you're in it, right? Right? So, but the truth is that we had experience running an agency and we had developed expertise running an agency. And so instead of pursuing something that we had to learn how to run that business, we know how to run an agency and we've learned so many lessons in that industry. So we decided to stay within that industry and to find a target that had skill sets that we didn't have, right? Because like SEO is a huge field, and there's not a lot of depth in the region in SEO, for example, right? And so we wanted to find a target that had capacity. When we talk about capacity, we're talking about the people who have the knowledge and the skills and the resources to do the work, right? We wanted to have capacity that we didn't have here. So in their case, they had a team of SEO experts. We didn't have that. We have a team of you know marketers and designers and developers, right? And so having a team of SEO experts was going to be complementary to our business, right? And then we also wanted to have a team that had a global reach so that we could also tap into that global market through their sales team, right? So that was the second thing that we looked at. And we wanted the reciprocal thing to be true as well. Somebody who wasn't in our market and who wasn't in our business, so that the integration, we could get wins on both sides essentially,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that was our strategy. We did up a basically a matrix, right? And with a like a Rubik's, a grading Rubik's, I would say this is what we want to do, and we started searching for opportunities. And after a couple months of searching for opportunities, we learned about HV, and we went through that process. A M&A process is very interesting. You start off with a simple, like a 5-page prospectus, and then you have to go past a screening process because they had a broker, and then after you get through that screening process, you get interviewed by the broker some more, and then eventually they introduce you to the people, and you spend time getting to know each other essentially, right?
Okay. Okay.
After time, they have a thing called a LOI, where if you're talking to them for long enough, it's going to be like, all right, we've been talking to you for long enough. If you're interested, then you have to give us a LOI, which is a letter of intent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that now is basically an outline of the deal structure, right? So they might have a price that they want, but then you get to structure um, what the deal could look like, and you
Yeah.
offer that to them. And so we offered um, we offered what we thought we could do, and they accepted that. And then you go through a period of due diligence where they open all the books to you, right? And so you have to dive in, you have to examine everything, right? You have to check for all the risks and go through that process. And so, that was months and months and months of work, right?
Yeah.
Which ultimately ended up with us staying yes and completing that deal in September 2022.
So how long did you say it took from start to finish, right? So it completed in September. What was the entire time from the first contact to the closure of the deal?
Yeah, that was March to September for us, which
Okay.
I which is actually a good time for a deal
Yeah,
like
that actually sounds pretty
that. Yeah.
reasonable. Four to
But it
six
was
months.
it was intense work. It was intense work. Like closing a deal like that is not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and finding a good target is not easy. And so really we have to put in the work. So when you see a company that completes something like that, that it speaks to some capabilities, I would say,
Yeah.
and being able to close and fund such a transaction, to purchase a company that was bigger than you, I think speaks to our ability to understand how other areas of life work, not just marketing, and being able to actually do the business that we're in.
So let's talk about the prospects for high voltage a little bit, because that company essentially would have changed the complexion of One Great Studio, right?
Yeah, it
Because
has.
you are essentially now becoming it's like you, well, the idea that I have in my head, I'm not gonna say it that way. I'm not sure how it be received, but you're becoming stronger as a company.
Here we
So
are.
what's the path that you see for that business? Because even though it's a part of the company, it essentially was standing on its own. But
Yeah.
what does it look like for
So
you for that business in terms of growth?
so one of the cool things about it is that you can be an integrated business but still having multiple brands, right? And so we have the high voltage brand, and we intend to run that operations, even though, you'd have seen in the prospectus that high voltage digital LLC outsources all the work to One Great Studio LLC. So everybody is really, contracted to One Great Studio. But we're maintaining the brand because in the agency world, your positioning is very important, right?
Yeah.
How a brand speaks to its audience, it attracts customers, right? And so high voltage has a very strong market positioning. So we're keeping their brand positioning, right? And we're leaning into that more. And over time, when we launch in our combined services, we will do that through a similar but different brand, because the truth is that you can have one company that serves different clients through different brands, right?
Yeah.
And the more specific you can be in your marketing when you're talking to people and you position that brand, it really is puts you in a position where, like, let me give you an example. If you have a CRM, right, you can buy a non-specialized CRM for like X, but if you buy a CRM for real estate, you pay X times 10.
Yes.
So focusing on markets and speaking directly to markets allow you to gain greater value from markets because and so that's something that's very important. So we want to keep high voltage the way that it is, right? Because their positioning works well. And for one great studio, what we're looking to do now locally and regionally is really building out, the other services that we can bring in. So now in a market like this, which is a smaller market, then the bigger you are, I think the better it is.
Yeah.
In some other markets, the more specialized you are, the better it is. In a market like Jamaica, I think the bigger we are and the wider our services are, then the better it is for us. So we can offer all those through one great studio because we're not positioned locally like a niche agency. You get me?
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
positioned as an agency that offers multiple lines of services, right? And so that's kind of how we see that we will continue to operate HV as an agency that's focused on SEO, and then we will start to sell our services through the HV digital brand, which is also our brand that we have in the US.
Okay. So I have to ask this question. Is there any plans to essentially at some point, maybe, spin off HV or maybe list on the New York Stock Exchange or list overseas? I have to ask, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it may
mean,
not be in the short term, but do you see potential in that maybe one day?
Driven, I think for us right now, what we want to do is to complete the integration successfully, right?
Yeah.
At our size, we really have to be intentional about how we place our attention and our focus, right? A company divided, chasing too many things, I think has a less likelihood of success, right? And I think when it comes to executing strategic plans, you have to focus on the plans that you want to execute, right? And so for us right now, our focus with HV is completing the integration, which we have been doing, right? And then finding the cross-selling opportunities because what we're doing right now is that we're bringing our team into HV and then we're offering them other things. So once the clients are in, right, we're offering them other things. So you get them in, you have the positioning, you get them in. How business is working out, when you get a client, it's easier to widen your pocket share, your
Yes.
wallet share for that client, right?
Once
So
you're
if you
in,
have a
yes.
very clear message bringing them in, hey, we're SEO experts, and they come in, right? Then when they're in, we can say, all right, guys, now that we've been doing this, you've been taking long to do your website updates, right? So some of our clients need our help to do their website updates, and HV only had one developer. So now we can bring our team of developers and we can do more updates on the sites, right? HV have clients there that search engine optimization is a medium term game, not a short term game. And you might have a new client with a new site, they need immediate traffic, and search isn't going to help them till 3 months down the road. So what does that client need? That client need some paid ads in the meantime that can generate traffic. If I turn on ads today, it brings you traffic tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So that same client, instead of going off now, they're already paying HV money. Instead of going off and then paying another agency money to bring them some traffic via paid ads, they can spend that money with us so we can bring them some paid ads. You know?
Yeah.
And then if we have a client who, when we audit their sites, we recognize that there are some technical problems, your page won't rank well because of these technical problems, then we can rebuild the site for them. You get me?
Yeah.
So we use that
Yeah, man.
brand positioning, we get people into the business as clients, and then we can cross-sell them from there essentially.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing it. So you
So that's
mentioned
like so
focus.
that's like step so that's like the step. So one step
Yeah.
is get clients into the door with your positioning and then cross-sell to them, right? And then the
Yeah.
next step that we'll move into in our next phase is going to be then offering the services to new clients in those markets that they're strong in, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
rolling out a
Yeah.
related brand in those new, you get what I'm saying? And we do
Yeah.
the same thing in Jamaica and the Caribbean and like even Latin America as well. So that's kind of what we're focused on in the immediate.